Hi, I'm Steve Payne. I'm a musician and I live in Wales on the English-Welsh border. And I'm a frequent visitor to Canada, friends, family and various connections. And you're listening to Talkin Blues, of course. Silly me.
Welcome back. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah. How long has it been?
I'm thinking 12 years.
12? My God. I must have been like 20 years old then.
I think you were.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, happy days. If only.
It's been a while. I want to begin by asking you how you first got into music.
Well, I don't know. I got into music because I liked listening to it and I wanted to play because there was a band at the end of my street. They were called Jason and the Argonauts. And they used to practice in a garage, or garage as we say in Liverpool.
Can I ask how old you were at this point?
10, 11. And there was a band in Britain called The Shadows, a guitar band. And the guys at the local guys at the end of the street used to do a lot of the Shadows stuff and old Duane Eddy stuff. And me and a couple of pals used to sit outside and listen to it and then peer through the window and look longingly at this guy's lovely red, I guess it was a Fender Strat, you know. And then we noticed that there were girls inside, and I thought, well, that'd be quite a good thing too, you know. So as soon as I got obsessed with guitars. Just sit at school drawing guitars on bits of paper, and that was where it all started. I think that the music disease. That's not a disease, is it? But the music sort of obsession, which is sort of, I'm not as obsessed with it now as I used to be, but I was then, and I think the worst is over.
So was the goal to become a lead guitar player?
No, not really. Just a guitar player. I wanted to be the guy with the long hair and the tight pants, and you know, and it was all an image thing. You know, I wasn't obsessed with the sound as much as the image. The only problem with that was when I saw myself playing, you know, which I did much later, I looked like a complete nerd, so it didn't work out at all. You know, I made all these weird, funny faces, and you know, I didn't. In my head, I was the guy doing, you know, with the tight pants and strutting away with the guitar, you know, around his kind of crotch area, you know, and thrusting at the microphone. When I actually saw myself, I looked quite like an awkward little boy with this guitar too high up and making all these, like, you know, faces, you know, like these weird faces, guitar faces, you know, which weren't good at all, you know. So it didn't work out for that. So I started getting into more, you know, sitting down and playing and thinking about what I was doing rather than, you know, how I was looking.
Okay, when did you realize that?
In my teens, I suppose. And then I really did get into sort of playing the guitar. So I used to go to the folk clubs and listen to all the folk acoustic musicians.
Yeah, because I think of you as a singer-songwriter and a decent guitar player, but in the time that I've known you, that's probably what I've seen you most at. But I know that you're a very credible electric guitar player. Yeah,
well, that was what I was known for, you know, originally as a fancy electric guitar player. But I graduated, or if you can call it graduated, I morphed into an acoustic player. I still play electric, of course. You know, I've got a nice old vintage Telecaster at home. I like to play slide on that a lot. I still work with people in the UK that want me to play electric, and I do the odd electric session. But when I go out solo, I don't play electric because there aren't many solo electric players.
Right.
You know, apart from Billy Bragg, you know, or I don't know who else. So I play acoustic and I play my songs. You know, that's basically it.
So when did you decide that you wanted to pursue music as a career?
Oh, I always wanted to do that. I mean, it didn't happen for a long time. And I fought against people who thought I was just, not doing this right or not doing that right. He didn't look right either, because I looked like a nerd playing the guitar. So, it hasn't been an easy thing. I guess in my 20s I was quite obsessed with, can I make a living out of music? And I found out pretty soon that it was really hard to do. Unless you got to a place where you were happy with what you were doing and happy where you were playing, places, venues, etc., which were few and far between then, and got a little bit better, but now I seem to be disappearing again, sadly.
Whereabouts were you trying to establish yourself musically? Like, where it was in England or Wales?
Oh, in England. I lived in Bristol, which is southwest, and I used to go to the folk clubs and watch people play. And then I got to be a MC of a folk club, so I would introduce the acts and choose who was going to go up and play, because people would turn up with their guitars and banjos or whatever and want to play like 3 songs during the evening. You'd have a guest artist,
right?
And then you'd have people coming in and saying, "Oh, I've just written this song," or "I want to play this Bob Dylan song. Can I play?" And you go, "Okay, you can do 2 songs, and you can do 3 songs after him." And so occasionally I put myself on, and bore the pants off everybody by doing like the 25-minute version of Bob Dylan's "Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll" or some crap like that. No, it wasn't crap at all. It's a great song, but but I was so intense about it all. And from then I met a lady that was signed to DJM Records, Dick James DJM Records, Dick James Music. Dick James was at one time the Beatles publisher, and was also Elton John's first label, I believe, and quite a lot of blues guys. And she was signed to DJM, and she needed a guitar player to go on tour with Loudon Wainwright III, Rufus Wainwright's dad.
Right. Great singer, songwriter.
Yes, indeed. And so I got the gig. She said, "Do you want to do it?" And I went, "Yeah, what do we do?" And so she said, "Well, we'll work these songs out." I went to the studio and I played guitar on her album, which was called Fancy That. On DJM Records, folks, if you want to go get it. Dave Mattox played drums. Dave Mattox was with Paul McCartney's Wings band. Gary Taylor from Peter Frampton's band. Who else was on it? I was on it. Gary... Yeah, a lot of really good players.
So you must have been good.
Well, I suppose the record producer thought I was worthy of being on the album.
What did you think of your playing at that point?
I thought it was okay, and listening back to it now, I think it's probably not that good. But that's only because I'm better than I was.
Right.
If
hopefully you would be.
If I was doing it now, I would have done it different. But they thought it was good enough to put on the album, and the album came out, and the actual, there was a song on there called Valentino, which I played some kind of pseudo-Spanish guitar over the chorus and verse in the background, etc., etc. And I think that became a single and got somewhere in the charts. I don't know where it went. It's probably number 23 in Azerbaijan or somewhere like that. Yeah, so I was on that album, and then it morphed. I just went on from there, really.
Can I ask what you thought about where you would be based on that album? Did you think that this album would change your life? Did you think this would just be another recording? Like, how did you perceive that album?
I didn't think it'd be just another recording, because I hadn't done that many. but I thought, yeah, here we are. We've arrived. I mean, the guy that produced the album was the same guy that produced Jerry Rafferty's Night Owl album, which is Baker Street,
right,
etc. I think the guy was called Danny, Hugh Murphy, I think his name is. I can't remember. You figure it out. So I thought, yeah, here we go, you know. But of course, it's not as easy as that. You know, when you finish one project, then you've got to find another one. So I went back into the clubs and just started touring folk clubs, basically.
This is as a solo singer-songwriter?
Singer-songwriter, yeah. Okay. And then in the folk clubs morphed, there was a changeover or an integration of blues into folk. You know, if you went to, say, the Cambridge Folk Festival, which is a very big folk festival in the UK, they'd have a blues guy, you know, playing. And so blues guys used to play in the folk clubs. You know, it wasn't just finger in your ear, traditional folk, man, on the sailing boats in 1803, you know, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So there'd be like some guy doing, you know, big Bill Brunsey stuff or something. And I thought, oh, this is cool. So I started playing that as well.
So you should tell me what you were playing before that.
Well, I was playing contemporary folk, I suppose. I was writing songs that were in the sort of Donovan, Bob Dylan, that sort of, you know, that sort of thing. And yeah, so I started playing, you know, I learned a few blues licks and Robert Johnson and all the rest of it. And people go, "Oh, Steve Payne is a blues player." Well, I'm not a blues player, you know. I can play it, but I can't. You know, I wouldn't describe myself as a blues guitar player with any stretch. You know, it's not a thing I really aspired to either. It just sort of happened that I became okay at playing the blues, and then I had a couple of bands. I was in a band called the Parole Brothers, which was a boogie woogie piano band that was kind of bluesy, and another band which of course had to be called the Painkillers, right?
Of course,
yeah, of course, you know, obviously. And that was more sort of heavy rock thing, but it was still bluesy. So I got labelled as a blues guy, but I'm not really a blues guy. I like the blues, but not totally. I couldn't go through life playing just the blues, you know. I mean, you can't go through life just eating one thing, can you?
Right.
You know.
So musically, where did you hope to be? Like, what was the goal at that point?
Oh, just to keep playing and earn some money.
And keep playing mainly in UK, or did you have other goals?
Well, I was open to everything, you know. I mean, when we toured, you know, we went to Finland and Sweden and Germany and France and Holland and Northern Ireland, you know, and Southern Ireland, and yeah, and then I ended up coming to Canada because my mother and my brother and my sister had emigrated to Canada. Family split up, and I stayed with my father and my two brothers, my brother and sister, my older brother and elder sister, moved to Canada. They had jobs here. They had a gig in Canada, and my mum came over at their request. I wasn't really invited, I don't think. But now where are we going now? This is a long story. I was playing at Glastonbury Festival. You know Glastonbury.
Yeah.
I was playing at Glastonbury Festival, and I met a lady who was a backing singer for another lady, and this lady was called Maria Muldaur, and she, do you know Maria?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And so I ended up having a relationship with this backing singer from Maria, and at her bequest, I moved to Los Angeles, or went to visit on a long extended visit to Van Nuys, California, and after a while, I'd been down there for a while, and various things happened, which I won't go into. But
are you able to work down there musically?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, yeah. I was sponsored by somebody or other. I ended up the relationship ended, and then I thought, what am I going to do? So I came up. My mother was living in Toronto, so I caught a plane to Toronto and went to stay with my mum. And she said, "Oh, you should go and see your sister. She's in Windsor." And I went down to Windsor, and there was a blues bar across the street on Tecumseh Road. And I went over to the blues bar and sat at the bar, and some guy comes up to me and he goes, "So what do you do?" And I went, "Oh, I'm a musician." He went, "Well," he said, "we've got an open mic night, like a jam night, He said, "You want to play?" I went, "No, not really." I didn't have an instrument with me, and I was a tiny bit sort of, I was tired of doing it for a little while. But come the jam night, I went back to the bar and sat at the bar, and guy came. He was a big guy. He was like 6'5", huge guy. So I didn't like to turn him down. He was too big to say no to. He goes, "So where are you from?" And I went, "England." And he went, "Okay." So he gets on. He's a drummer, and he gets on the stage, and they're all playing away, doing bang gang bang gang dang that usual stuff. And he goes, "So now we got a guest up at the bar. His name's Steve. He's from Poland. Come on, this is Steve from Poland." And I went, "No, I'm not from Poland." "Give that guy a guitar." So the guy gives me a guitar, and I went, and they all went, "Jesus, what's going on here?" The guy can play. So that's how that started. And I ended up at this bar, and the lady that ran the bar said, "Would you like to come back at the weekend and do a gig?" And I went, "Really?" She went, "Yeah, I'll pay you such and such an amount of money." And I went, "Okay, I'll do it." And I ended up playing at this bar. It must have been for about 2 years on and off, with various people coming in and coming out, and so.
Okay, so this is Steve, the folk singer.
Yeah.
Tell me about writing songs. How did that come about?
Well, I don't know, how did it come about? I don't know if it came about. I mean, I just thought I should write a couple of songs. That's what everybody's doing. So I just had a go at it. I just started writing some songs. Songs were good. Some songs, some were crap. Some were good. But I wasn't very prolific. I'm still not. Like one a year maybe, or two a year. But I take time over them. I sort of, I agonize over, is it that word shouldn't be there, or that verse is too long, or that bit should turn around, or something like that. So I in the end, something metamorphosizes and becomes a big thing. But I think because of that, I think they endure. My songs don't seem to sort of. People don't listen to them and go, "Oh, that sounds like it's you wrote that in the '60s." It doesn't sound like that. I don't think so, anyway.
Does it come to you are you ever just driving down the street and music?
Sometimes, yeah. Not so much now. I used to quite a lot, but I don't actually listen to a lot of music now, to be honest. If I'm in the car and I'm driving, I like to listen to talk radio and news programs, especially when people are falling out of the sky and all that kind of stuff. That's quite funny shit, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's strange.
Well, not for him, but
no.
Anyway, we don't want to talk about that. But
I always remember you telling me that you have this condition. I don't know if it's called a condition, but you see colors with music.
Yeah, I do.
Synesthesia, is that what it's called?
I don't know what it's called, but I always thought it was normal.
Can you just explain that to me?
No, I can't. I can't explain it.
But tell me what happens.
Well, if I listen to something, I see a color, I see a note, and I see a color, and it's not always the same note. But it can be a note or part of a note, and it'll change colour. Like I think, oh, that's yellow, but I don't think to myself that's yellow. I just see it. Say if I'm listening to something that's like a heavy rock thing, I don't know, Bon Jovi, that's kind of a purplish kind of red colour. But if I'm listening to, I don't know. Eva Cassidy or something, that's more of a sort of bright yellowy colour.
So it's not like colours change with different notes.
They do during the song,
right?
But there's always an overall tint to it. I don't concentrate on the colours, of course, because I'm listening. But in my head, it's always in the background.
And does it ever influence how you write or what you write?
No, not really. No, it doesn't influence me. I can tell if it's, if it's too depressing. If it's depressing, it's obviously black, or something goes. It's like something's not right in the song, or some guy's dying or something like that. It's a dark color. I don't mind dark colors, but you don't want to spend all your life in the dark, do you? You need a bit of brightness.
But when you write,
yeah.
Do you see colors when you're writing a song?
Not when I'm writing them, no. When I've finished writing them, when I've finished writing the song and I play it back, then incidentally I see colours. I don't see them. In the back of my mind's eye, I can see them. I'm not concentrating. I think they're not in front of me, and I don't concentrate on, oh, that's a pink or that's a blue or that's a green. But if I reel the song back, I know what colours they are.
And it would be the same every time you listen to it, even if you might be in a different mood the next day.
Yeah, same. Yeah, the only difference being that if I never play the same song twice, the same.
Right.
So sometimes I might get a bit of blue where there should be a green.
I find that fascinating.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought everybody knew. I thought a lot of people did that. Colours. I used to have a friend that could smell colours. See, pregnant pause there.
Yes.
And could feel colours. If you put a colour, like a coloured piece of coloured paper in your hand, and close it, and he'd be out of the room, and he'd be come in and put his hand on top and rub it and go, oh, that's red. And open up, and it was 100% that you knew what that colour was.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. That's magic, Marco. Magic.
So that's how you started your annual, maybe not annual, but your regular tours in Canada?
Yeah. Canusa Bar on Tecumseh Road in Windsor. And then I got invited to play different places. And so I did that, and people say, "Oh, you should go to Toronto and play," And I played a lot of places in Toronto. I've been studiously ignored by the mass Canadian public for over 30 years. They've done a fantastic job of ignoring me. I mean,
and yet you keep coming back.
Well, like I say, I've got family here.
Yeah,
and my daughter is just. Graduate. She's just passed the bar in.
Wow.
She was at Metropolitan. What used to be called? What was it called? Ryerson.
Yeah.
Now it's called what?
Metropolitan.
Okay. Well, she was at Lincoln Alexander School of Law, and she just passed the bar. So.
That's fantastic.
And she's living in Toronto now. My ex-wife lives in Windsor. So Alex, her name is. She runs back from Toronto to Windsor.
So what kind of law does she want to practice?
I don't think she knows yet, but she's just glad to be, to get through all of that stuff. Yeah, so we're pretty pleased about that. And of course, I'm a single dad. I've got another daughter, Indigo, who's 14. Her mum sadly passed away. Her mum was American, so Indigo has relatives in the US. Right now she's in Texas. So part of my reason for turning up here is to bring Indy, to get her down to Detroit so she can catch a plane to Texas with airline chaperones to see her granddad.
Right.
And then I come back up, into Ontario and visit my folks and family and friends and all the rest of it.
And play some gigs.
And play a few tunes here and there. But that's not my main reason for coming. My main reason is coming is social, not musical.
And you, even though you said that the masses ignore you, you do come back on a regular basis, and you do have a following.
Well, people, I suppose I do. A small one, or smallish one. but you know, sizes and everything, is it? I mean, yeah. So people ask me to play. You know, they call, can you come? I just played the Moonshine Cafe in Oakville. That's a great gig. Mm-hmm. And I'm going up to Halliburton to play, and Trenton, and just played a couple of house concerts.
So how does that happen? You say, hey, I'm coming to Ontario in August. Book me gigs?
Is that what I do?
Yeah, well, how do these gigs pop up?
No, they just pop up. They know, are you coming again? Because I've been coming here since 1990 or 89.
Right.
And so they say, are you coming this summer? And I go, yeah. They go, oh, well, come and play at the so-and-so. I go, yeah, okay. You know, and so I do. And then somebody will say, oh, we've got just recently somebody said to me, oh, I've got a place up in Tobermory and we want to do a gig up there. You know, will you come and play? And I went, what kind of gig is it? Is it a bar, a sports bar? No, I don't want to do that because I don't want to play, you know, noisy bars where people are eating ribs and wings and watching baseball and some guy in the corner. That's not my thing. But if it's a listening audience, then great, I'll come and play. So I played in London, I played in Toronto, I played in Windsor, and those were for people who wanted to turn up, listen to what I do. And so that's what I do, you know, that's what I did. And that's what I've been doing. Yeah,
I mean, it seems like even though that's not the purpose of this trip, that you've done quite a few gigs in the last few weeks.
I've done, 5, 6, yeah, and I've got 2 more to do.
When do you go back?
Good question. 2nd of September, arrive on the 3rd, and then school starts on the 5th, and then I'm in single dad mode, and then I'll go out and play some little shows around the UK if I want to. If I don't want to play, I don't play. If I do, I've got a little trio that I work with, SP3 it's called, folks out there. The harmonica player plays with the Yardbirds, the Yardbirds. Mm-hmm. And before that, he was a harmonica player with a very well-known British R&B band called 9 Below Zero. Billy Boy McSkimmon, so he tours with the Yardbirds, and when he's not touring with the Yardbirds, he comes and blows his heart with me. And another guitar player, Lyndon Webb, who's a very, very, very good player. And we go out and we have fun as a little trio. You know, we go and play in rootsy, acoustic-y kind of places.
And you guys have been together for a while.
Yeah. With there's another guy working with me, Paul Hobday. Paul has retired to France. Bought a place in France, and he's not on the road anymore. So I kind of replaced him with Lyndon, and Billy was playing with me and Paul, but now he's playing with me and Lyndon. So that's the way it's worked out. Yeah, and we made an album, made 2 albums, I think. Have we? I don't know. Yeah, we made 2. I think we made 2. I haven't got any with me, but we've made 2 albums, and hopefully we'll make another one when somebody sponsors us to make another one.
So you said you don't write very much. And how does the writing happen at this point in your career? Do you have to have a project to work towards, or is it an ongoing thing?
No, it's neither. I did do a project a while back with another Payne, Rick Payne, who's a very good player, roots blues acoustic player, and somebody was interested in putting an album together with me and Rick, and there was a time limit to do that, and so Rick and I said, let's write some songs. So I sat down and wrote 6 songs, like doing your homework. I've got to sit here and write a song, but that's not what I usually do.
And how long did it take to write those 6 songs?
Well, I only had like 2 weeks to do it, so I had to do it real quick. But that wouldn't be my usual way to do it. Yeah, so I sat down and wrote those songs, and after I'd written them, I thought, well, they're not very good, because I hadn't agonized over them enough. But then when I listened to the album back, which is called the Dartmouth Sessions, Steve Payne, Rick Payne, it's a pretty good record. It's an all acoustic record, 2 guitars, that's all. There's no mixes, no overdubs. And we just sat in a mobile studio for a week and let the tape run, and then kind of cut it down to what it was. There's a lot of instrumental stuff on there, but it's a nice record.
Which is easier for you, the instrumental or the singer-songwriter?
Oh, singer-songwriter, instrumentals. Well, it depends what it is. You know, if it's it depends on the instrumental, I suppose. No, they're both the same.
How different is the approach to writing an instrumental versus lyrics?
Well, you've got to have a tune for a start off. You've got to have an idea what you want to do, what kind of tune it you want to. Whereas if you're writing a song, I get an idea on something and then work it round. I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit like candy floss. What do you call it? Candy floss here? No, you call it sugar. What do you call it? You know, the fairground thing.
Yeah, candy floss.
You call it candy floss,
yeah,
right? Well, they call it something else in the US, don't they? Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Hey, they do, folks. I know they do. You put the stick in, don't you? And you wiggle it around and you come out and it just grows. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you come out with the candy floss. Well, that's like songwriting process for me. You know, I put my head in the songwriting bowl, with an idea.
What's the idea? Is it the chorus? Or it could be...
Could be anything. It could be peanuts.
Okay.
It could be, brown socks and burgers. Or it could be, I love you, babe. Or it's not really... That's pretty rare for me. Or it could be... I've just written a song with I haven't got a name for it. But the inspiration is probably the wrong word. The thought process came from the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and along with that, the tragedy and stupidity of Brexit. And I was so angry about both of them, I just sat down and started writing something, and it's turned into quite a good song.
So write something meaning it starts with the lyrics always?
Yeah, mostly. I find it hard the other way around. I've got quite a few tunes that have come to nothing because I've written the tune first, or I've composed the melody first, and then I can't fit the words to it. So that's awkward. It has been done, but it's not a frequent thing, really.
So does that mean that when you write down the lyrics, and I presume that they're not finished as you sit down and write them, but do you have an idea of what the melody would be based on the lyrics you write?
A vague idea, yeah. And it all depends on the meter of the song, the rhythm of the song. And the flavour of the song as well, and the colour, of course, because everything has a colour. So if you've got to fit the right chord to the right lyrics,
right?
Part of the lyrics on this latest song is there's a long dark shadow coming over the hill. It's the devil riding shotgun in a coupe de ville. Well, you couldn't write the tune to go with that. It's not going to be there's a long dark shadow coming over the hill, la 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 la. It's not that, is it? It's like there's a long dark shadow coming over the hill. It's that kind of. So it's that flavour, and that, of course, those two melody lines have got colours. Did you see them?
But but you did say that they don't really influence your writing, but maybe they do.
Well, maybe they do. Yeah, possibly. It's not something I think about, though, which is why it's hard for me to explain. I don't really analyse it that much.
Okay, but you said you work on these songs over time, and sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Are you road testing them? Are you playing them live and then changing them as time goes by? What works and what doesn't?
No, I don't play them live until I'm very confident that they're all finished.
Oh.
And then 9 times out of 10, I change it anyway. I mean, this song in particular, this new song, I don't know what it's called, but I think we're going to call it Angelina, because there's a chorus that says, "Come away, Angelina." That song had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of, not versions, but changes to it until I was happy with it. Now I've got to the point where I've put the pen down, and put the lyrics to bed, and it's done, and it's not going to change anymore now. I don't think so anyway. It might do, but I don't think it will. So it's ready to be taken out of the oven and presented on the table for people to, eat or listen to.
And then what do you get out of that? Let's say you play this tomorrow night and you play it for the first time.
Yeah.
The audience reacts a certain way, whatever it might be. Yeah. Does that influence anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, if it's a great reception, then you think, well, this is it,
But if it's not, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a good song.
It doesn't. But what I do is I think back and think maybe I could have made that first bit a bit more quieter or louder, or change that bit or that bit or that bit. So it doesn't matter. It morphs, it changes shape a little bit depending on the audience reaction. But I've played it 1, 2, 3, 4 times this trip, and the reaction's been very good. There's just this one song I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. And perhaps the whole show.
Pardon?
And perhaps the whole show.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the shows have been great. But this particular one song, I because it's been received really well, then I know that it's cooked. I know that you can take the lid off and go, there you go, there it is. But it's taken a while to get there.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that now you really want us to record it, or do you?
I'd love to record it, but I haven't got the financial wherewithal to do it yet. So if there's anybody out there who wants to give me $1 million, dollars,
it's an expensive song.
Just go ahead. Yeah. No, but seriously, no, I can't do it. I'm a single parent, so I've got to. That's my first gig, really. But I'd like to record the new stuff, and I'd like to get Lyndon and Billy on it, and I'd like to have the time to do it. I haven't always got the time to do it. Being a single parent kind of takes up most of my time. And then I live in a little town called Chepstow, which is on the English-Welsh border. 12,000 people. It's a very small place. So there aren't many studios around that have, that I think would be okay to record. I think maybe 1 or 2. But all those factors come into play to enable me to go out and do this thing, And then, you've got to get the design. And the other thing is, do people listen to CDs anymore? What are they listening to? Or do you put them on? Yeah. Do they?
No, I know. I do, but most people don't.
Most people don't, do they? So what do you do? I don't know what you do now. Should you press it in vinyl? Should you press it in CD? Should you press it or put it on Spotify? I wouldn't use Spotify. I don't know what to do, really.
Right.
I'm a bit of a dinosaur like that.
But how do you think... I mean, obviously you're a singer-songwriter, a musician. Mm-hmm. You write. Whether... For whatever reason, you will continue to write, right? Like, it's not like you'll sit there and go, I don't know if people buy CDs, therefore I'm not going to write another song.
No. What I'm saying is when you finish doing it, what do you do with it then?
Right.
And the other thing is, certain places, certain songs won't work. And certain times, certain songs won't work. If you're at a show and it's quite an upbeat affair, you don't want to suddenly go stick in a really doomy tune, because that changes the whole colour of the situation, doesn't it?
Right.
So you've got to stick with it. So I never write a set list, for instance, because they don't work. Because you've got to read the room, read the situation, and you should have a big list of songs in your head. Well, I don't have a big list, but I've got a list, and I pick ones out that will fit the time and the mood of the concert. So something like Angelina, this song I was talking about, probably wouldn't go in a situation where people were dancing about, drinking champagne, taking their clothes off and dancing on the ceiling. That probably wouldn't work because it's a listening song. So you have to cut your cloth accordingly, I think.
How quickly do you know the audience? How quickly does it take you to realize how to read the audience?
Yeah, not long, but sometimes that changes halfway through, and that can happen because song selection has something to do with that. You don't want to make it too downbeat, and you don't want to make it too upbeat. If you've got downbeat songs you want to do and upbeat songs you want to do, you've got to kind of mix them up and get the audience, in a frame of mind where they're able to sort of digest both of those things. And I like to talk to people when I'm on stage. Sometimes I talk too much, I think, but have a conversation. I always say to people, "How's it going?" "Hello, anybody out there?" "Free drinks for anybody?" And then they all perk up and say, "Yes."
But I presume the power of music is such that you can change that room with whatever song you play next.
Yeah.
For the better or for the worse.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You can change it. You can change it. From good to bad, or bad to good. You've got to be wary of that.
I know you've been doing this for many years, so
yeah.
You probably know what to do and what not to do. But does it still surprise you at all? Do things happen that might surprise you? You pick a song and all of a sudden you realize, oh, that was not right? Or
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've been known in the past just to stop in the middle and go, I've got to stop this because it's not happening. I'll try a different one.
But it's not happening for you or for the audience?
Well, for both. I can see that isn't right for the room or the concert, and so it's not right for me. So then it has to change.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not going to merrily go on my way and sort of, keep going through to the bitter end and hope that it comes out okay. I'm just going to stop and go, you know what? This is I'm going to just start again. Just do something else.
But every night is different. Like, is there an arc to your song performing pattern in the way that you always want to end a certain way? You always want to mellow it down in the middle or wherever?
No, I want to end with people thinking, that was a really good song, let's have some more. There are occasions when I've actually tried to sort of dampen it down at the end, so people go, okay, this is the last one, go home, don't shout for more, because I want to go and have a beer in the dressing room or something, but that's not so common. But usually you want it to end on a high. It's always good to start off on a high-ish note. You can't start too high because you've got to keep that up all the way through, and that's pretty hard to do. So you got to read it, and it's a wave, isn't it? See, I'm shapes now as well as colours, so it's
getting three-dimensional.
Yeah, we're getting all kind of fancy here, but you've got to read the room and make sure that you balance it out. It's a balancing act, it's a trapeze act.
One of my favorite songs of yours is Northern Town.
Yeah.
And I just think it's such a beautiful song. Where does that come into the arc of your performance?
That's, I don't play that very often, to be honest.
Really?
No. It takes a certain mood to play that song. The last time you probably heard it was in that garden. We did a garden concert, I think. Yeah. But that was a sit-down listening audience who were very, 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 very quiet. And, unless I've got that, I won't play that song because it's otherwise it's wasted. It's it goes over the top of their heads. So you've got to be in a room or a concert or a situation to be able to do that. Also, it's in a tuning, so you've got to take the time to take the guitar and retune the damn thing, and then you know.
Right.
Of course, when you're tuning the guitar, it feels to me like hours and hours you're tuning it up for, whereas in fact it's only minutes.
And this is when you're talking and distracting them.
Yeah, but there's like people get a bit restless. Well, he's tuning the damn guitar. Who does he think he is? Unless you're unless I have one guitar that's already tuned, but then when you pick that guitar up, it's going to sound different than the one you're playing. It's complicated, but in a folk club situation, Northern Town would be a good song to play. It's quite a popular tune. People seem to like it. Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful tune. How much are you doing acoustic versus electric these days?
90% acoustic, maybe 10% electric. That's it. Yeah.
And that's just determined on. Is it more because you're asked to do electric? It's not your call?
Well, I don't go out and play electric unless I've got somebody to play with.
Right.
Who wants me to play some slide or some lead guitar or whatever. So most of my work is acoustic. If I'm recording solo, if I do record solo, I may put some electric guitar on and I would play that myself. I played a gig recently in Bristol with a couple of guys who wanted me to play electric, and I really enjoyed it because I hadn't played it for quite a while.
And when you don't play it for a while and somebody says, hey, can you come and bring your electric, do you have to warm up for days or you just show up?
I just show up. I just show up and hope for the best. No, I'm that good. I just show up and play.
With your eyes closed.
Yeah, of course, my eyes closed, yeah. And a weird look on my face. Guitar face, like I'm a bulldog chewing a wasp.
And thrusting your pelvis. But it just comes to you, like it's...
Yeah, I'm a guitar player. I'm a natural guitar player. I don't play scales. I've never learned any scales. I know what they are, but I don't. I see patterns on the fretboard. And I kind of just know instinctively that note will fit with that note. So that's what happens with that.
How much practice happens?
Practice?
Yeah.
Really none now. I don't practice that much at all. I don't play at home a lot. I might do. Sometimes I might sit down and have a glass of wine and pick up the guitar. But usually, I haven't got time. Or if I'm doing that, suddenly I'll get, Dad, can I have a soda? And I go, oh, God, okay, hang on. I'll be right with you, honey. So I don't get a lot of time to practice as such. I kind of, sometimes if I'm writing a tune, I'll spend half an hour in the morning when I've got like time to sit down and sort of scrub around it and see if certain things will work or certain things won't work, But that's the way it works with me. Whereas previously, when I was a kid, I used to play all the time. I played till my fingers bled, But that's what you got to do if you want to learn your instrument. That's what you got to do. You can't just, learn your scales and then go out and play. You got to, because it all sounds different when you're on stage anyway. So as you're in front of an audience and you plug the guitar in or not plugged it in and you're up against a mic. It also depends how you're sitting. I like to sit on a chair with my feet on the floor. I turned up at a gig last Saturday at the supermarket in Kensington Market, and the sound guy very kindly had put a stool on the stage. There's your microphone, and there's your folk singer's stool. There it is, right there. There's your folk singer's stool. I said, I don't want that stool. "Oh, well, what stool do you want?" I said, "I just want a chair." He went, "A chair?" "Oh, yeah, a chair." So I want to sit on a chair. Okay, sit on a chair. But they thought that was weird. But that's the way it is. You got to be balanced. The thing's got to be balanced in your hands, otherwise you can't play properly. And if I'm on a stool, you've got no balance. And of course, if you've got a pedal as well, sometimes I use a little delay pedal or a equalizer or something. You can't reach the damn thing. You got to keep doing this. And then you fall off the stool and then spill your beer, and then the gig's over.
I get the impression that there was a time before you started to play slide, and then since then. How did the slide come into your musical thing?
How did it come in? Don't know. It just came in because I saw people playing it, and I thought, well, that sounds good. I'll try that. Let's do a bit of Raikuda and different folks. And playing in the folk clubs, I saw some people playing slide guitar, and that was interesting. So I had a go at it, just because I'd seen somebody play it. I thought I'd have a go at it. Well, that's a different thing altogether. You've got to be very precise when you're playing slide. And the guitar, you can't just pick up any old guitar and play slide. If the action's too low, it doesn't work. The action's too high, it's probably okay. But then again, you've got to, and there's different tunings, and it's quite an involved thing, and it's also limiting to a certain extent. I can play slide and lead and chords at the same time, not just bottleneck. So that helps. But if you've got a slide on one finger, you've got that finger's out the way then. It's a different technique, really. Interesting sound, but different technique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned Brexit.
Yeah.
How does that affect you as a musician working out of the UK?
Brexit, and I hear that word, I want to throw up. It's a really stupid, idiotic, suicidal, politically event. I still play in Europe.
Because you tour Germany and France and Belgium.
Yeah, I've just been to Holland twice this year. And I'm due to go to Germany in October. But for touring bands, it's difficult if the authorities want to be awkward, might be the word, I'm not sure, whereby all the equipment has to be signed and looked at, and serial numbers, and it's written down. There's a thing called a carnet form which they have to fill out, whereas when I tour, me and a guitar basically, and a bag.
And so you're not affected in that way?
I'm not affected in that way, and I can still play. I don't need a work permit to play in Europe, or at least in Holland and Germany. The European Union, 27 countries, I think 22 of them, somebody will put me right on this, but the Musicians Union have struck a deal to say that you can go over and play, but you still have to declare all your instrument, your equipment, which is a pain in the ass basically. But I don't take any with me, so I just take a guitar and a bag, maybe a little amp. That's it. But I mean, Brexit itself was totally idiotic, stupid, and a con basically from start to finish. Don't get me started.
But realistically, it doesn't affect you personally.
No, not personally, because I don't play. I don't go over there to play. I don't tour for months on end. I mean, before Brexit, I was European,
mm-hmm.
and I was able to live, work in 27 countries
without any paperwork.
Freedom of movement. Now I'm not, so I can only go for 9 weeks, I think it is, 3 months, and then I have to leave or whatever. And there's no freedom of movement, has gone long term. But I only do 2-3 weeks at a time. Of course, I only play when I can, when my daughter's on school holidays. When she's in school, I can't go because I got to get her to school.
Does that mean you take her on tour with you?
She has been, but now she's 14. She'll stay at home, and I'll get somebody to stay with her. But Brexit, hasn't changed me a lot, but it has changed a lot of bands that toured for a living in Europe, frequently. It's hurt them a lot, and it should be, changed.
Can it though? Is there even any thought?
No, I don't think it will. I don't think that. I mean, the referendum turned out 48-52 in favour of leaving. So 4% of people, 4% majority. But it screwed up a lot of, the Europeans weren't very happy about it, and I think they would have Britain back, but it won't be as easy as that now. But I don't want to get into politics, but now certain people have left the stage. Boris.
We won't mention any names.
No mention any names. Boris. And, now that he's gone, well, he's gone for now. I don't know if he'll be back. I hope not. People are suddenly, waking up to the fact that it was a complete, disaster. And they were conned into thinking it was going to be something when it wasn't. And, regretfully, that's what's happened. That's it.
It's also interesting because of the pandemic that it kind of was a distraction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like the Brexit happened and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And so the reaction, I don't know, just seemed to me like that became a bigger thing, and then all of a sudden Brexit was in the background. And now people are realizing that.
Yeah, of course. They, and a lot of the problems within the UK now, they say, the politicians, Brexiteers, they're like musketeers and then Brexiteers. I mean, they're not as cute as that. Are saying, it's not because of Brexit, it's because of the pandemic, which is bullshit. It might be a little bit both, but I mean, it's not just the pandemic. It's Brexit because they've screwed up the people coming from Europe to work in Britain, and they can't do it anymore. They need them, need them to pick the fruit in the fields and vegetables. Vegetables are rotten in the fields, and people to drive the lorries. And my dentist was Romanian, and then I go out and have a Greek meal and I drink German beer, and people are going, oh, Europe. It's so stupid. It's been so stupid. Don't get me started on that, man.
How did the pandemic affect you?
The pandemic didn't affect me that much, except for my kid was at home. I didn't work, of course. There was nowhere to play. I quite liked the fact that the streets were empty. And I could hear the birds singing again. They said within about 10 days, all the birds in the hedgerows were singing. It was amazing, And we would go out. Me and Indigo would go out walking. We'd walk a couple of miles a day around the streets. To get some exercise with no traffic. Wow, it's amazing. It's like the end of the world, but quite good, really. No traffic fumes, no noise. It was great in that way. In other ways, it wasn't so great, of course, but, it had its upsides as well as its downsides. But musically, it was a non-event, nobody was playing anywhere.
Did you become more creative or less creative?
Probably more, because I had more time. And it was quieter, you know. Yeah, I sat down and played quite a lot more guitar, I think, during that time. Now it seems a bit more, you know, hurly-burly things going on. I haven't got time to do it, or I just don't want to do it, or I've got to go and do something else. But the pandemic was, you know, it was like a, you know, when it, you know, the terrible thing, COVID. But I mean, yeah, it wasn't. It was a time. There was a lot of reflection going on, I think, during that time. People were sat back thinking, what's going on here then? So music, creatively wise, it was, it was quite good. Of course, people wrote songs about the pandemic, but I mean, I didn't. I wrote songs about the pandemic.
Do you think it changed you musically in any way?
No, not at all. No, not the pandemic. Well, Brexit hasn't either, except for that one tune, Angelina, which has got Brexit in it. It doesn't. It's not. I don't mention Brexit in it, but there is a nod towards Brexit in it. So Brexit actually did something quite good. You know, it gave me 3 lines of a song or 4 lines of a song. You know, so that was quite good.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for doing this.
It's okay. Yeah, good to see you again.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Let me finish with one question.
Yeah.
One more question. Tell me that little kid who wanted to be that guitarist and thrust his pelvis with his guitar and make friendly faces to who you are today and basically the musical journey you've taken. When you look back on it, how do you look back on this?
How do I look back on it? I look back on it with a smile and probably some missed opportunities. But I look back on it as a good thing. You know, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the journey, and it ain't over yet. So
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
All right, man.